We're addicted to grievance. We have members of Congress acting like they were on the UFC card. Anti-Semitic incidents are up 400%. Concerns about Islamophobia heightened. Bill O'Reilly, assuming that addiction is nothing more than a bad choice, and too many of these people are a threat. How did we get here? How can we get somewhere better? Especially in a society that prizes its spirituality and belief in a higher intelligence and the mandate of love. Let's welcome the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, Bart Barber. This is a pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the invitation.
Hey, I'm so happy to be on today, and thank you, Chris, for inviting me on.
Appreciate your perspective. As we speak, my senior producer, Ron, just told me that there are tanks entering the hospital complex in Gaza, obviously Israeli tanks. You know how divided we are on this, unusually so in this country. How do you see that division?
Well, let me say, first of all, that Southern Baptists have had a ministry presence in Gaza for decades, including hospitals in that area. I think Southern Baptists are not pacifists. That differentiates Baptists from Anabaptists. And it's possible to care about the humanity of everyone involved and yet still have the moral clarity to identify an aggressor and someone who is making a justified response to aggression in warfare. And so I think most Southern Baptists would say that they can look at what Hamas did in these attacks and incursions into Israel and have clarity to look and say that's horrible and it's wrong, and if someone did that to us, we would respond militarily. And yet, at the same time, Southern Baptist send relief, disaster relief teams are on the ground providing trauma counseling and food and basic necessities and even bomb shelters to both Arab Christians and to Palestinians and to Jewish people who are in that area. And so we want to love everybody and serve everybody, but also recognize that sometimes nations have to take violent action to prevent violence.
When members of the congregation say, Bart, but it's too much, Israel is too mighty, and yes, what happened then was wrong, but this is on such a higher scale, it has to stop. There must be a ceasefire, which really means Israel has to stop because Hamas has sworn to never stop trying to kill them. How do you counsel?
Well, actually, I've not had a congregant ask that, and I think part of the reason is because if you come to church a lot and you read the Bible, you're acquainted with the history of Jews in Israel from 2500 BC all the way up to 70 AD, and I think there's a lot of clarity about the situation that's going on for people who are in my congregation. But, you know, we've been struggling with what the right reasons are to go into war and what the right way is to conduct yourself during a war for 1,500 years, since Augustine. And so nobody's writing a blank check in my congregation for Israel to do anything that they want to do. There are rules of ethics for conducting warfare in the just war tradition. It's just that right now we see that Israel's actions that they're taking seem to be actions that are proportional to the threat that they face.
What is your best message for my audience about how they should see this increasing, let's say, because I don't believe the majority of this country is angry people, okay? I don't believe that. But there is an increasing emphasis on our animus and our grievance. You saw what I'm seeing in Congress. All those guys are Christian, by the way, whether it's Cuomo or McCarthy, and who's checking who in the kidneys, and Mark Wayne Mullen, who's, you know, like a trained fighter, is getting up and looking at a witness in a Senate hearing, ready to, you know, do some real action. What do you want people to remind themselves about?
Well, first of all, let me talk about being Christian. The gospel of Jesus Christ teaches that anyone can be forgiven of their sins and can have eternal life and a brand new life in Jesus, just like that in a moment, if you turn from your sins and place your faith in Christ. And so what that means is some of the people who are legitimately Christian were something else 30 seconds ago. And following Jesus is a journey. And we all start out in a place where we're not comfortable or familiar with it at all. And it takes a lifetime to follow Jesus and to grow and to mature as a Christian. So it's not surprising to me when I see people who are Christian struggle to do the right thing. A lot of people are fearful in our world, and I think we're in the adolescence of learning what to do with the internet, which is a medium that is so easily used to stoke people's fears and to pump up people's anger. And when we live in a time where 46% of adolescents are persistently depressed or anxious, that's tinder ready to burn when somebody knows how to use it to create anger out of that fear. I'm hoping that we mature out of that adolescence, that we become a little less gullible about the things that we see online, and that we come to the point that we can rediscover something about love and trust and confidence.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.